Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Tulsa City County Library's Tools for Building Business series. We're glad to have you this afternoon. My name is Martha Gregory. I'm with Tulsa City County Library's Research Center. And before we start, I want you to know this event is being recorded. This is number 4 of 5 sessions in the series. The recordings of all 5 in the series will be available for you to access on the library's YouTube channel when the series is completed. All participants except the speakers are in listen-only mode, and we will use Zoom's Q&A feature for asking questions and getting answers. So you'll see that at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you have a question, you can click on Q&A, and questions will be answered periodically throughout the presentation. The library is an absolute treasure trove of amazing resources for our business community. Among the most popular is Reference USA. This event and the next and final program on September 9th will absolutely open your eyes and your minds to some of the most useful research tools that are available. Reference USA, like most of our databases, is on the library's website, available 24/7 from any place, anytime, and it's free to library card holders. If you want to get a card, just visit our website at www.tulsalibrary.org, where you can order a free card online. You only have to work in, be a student in, or live in Tulsa County to qualify. Reference USA is a real heavyweight. Its group of databases has something for everyone, and our guest today will learn how to find new supporters and advocates for your nonprofit, learn about other nonprofits in your area of interest, analyze the market for your nonprofit, and lots of other good information. We're pleased to have with us Bill Carlson from Info Group in Omaha, Nebraska, to showcase Reference USA. Bill has been with Info Group since 2008. During those years, he has worked with public libraries all over the country, teaching their customers how to use the Reference USA system. And Bill will now show us how to explore Reference USA as a powerful tool for nonprofits. Bill?
Well, hello, and thank you, everyone. Let me present my screen to you. Just one moment. And here we go. You should now be seeing the Reference USA database here through the Tulsa City County Library. And I'll show you at the conclusion of the presentation where you can go on the library to find access to Reference USA. And in fact, at the conclusion of today's presentation, there will be a question that will be presented to you all. And if you would like to participate, you could win a $20 gift card to Starbucks. The question is going to be relevant to a search that we're going to do today. So you'll have the example presented to you nearly in its completion or completed form. So certainly take some notes and ask questions. You can certainly send through a chat message if you would like and have a question about a certain search or a search you'd like me to do towards the conclusion. We can certainly do that. So first of all, just a few housekeeping items. The Reference USA logo that you see here on the upper left-hand corner, this is your home key. So if you were in one of these modules and wanted to get to a different one, you can simply select the home key and you'll be right back here. We do have under the About Us a 3.5-minute video that walks you through how we verify our business data. So you might want to watch that. We also have, now certainly you're going to be able to reach out to several wizards at the library, but in the event you wanted to reach out to us, we do have our contact information there that includes an 800 number when you select that Contact Us link, or our email address. So you can always reach out to us with questions as well. And then we have under the Learning Center a variety of different pieces of information, the webinars that we do, some videos that we offer, and some great training guides. So if you would prefer your information in writing, you could certainly take advantage of those training guides and use that as well. I also like to point out the fact that we have the option for you to also download our app. So depending on which type of smartphone you have, you could certainly go to the respective store and get that information downloaded, and then you would have access specifically through the app to two of our database modules, the U.S. businesses and the U.S. consumer and lifestyles. I'll be in both of these, by the way, today, along with a couple of these others. So know that this is available to you at no additional charge. And if you would like, and it notes here that you can create a personal account. So once you have registered, you'll be sent an email acknowledging that registration. You can then log on. And by the way, it's not a shortcut to be able to log on. You will still log in through the library's website and then come down here and log on to the personal accounts in order to see any saved searches you've done. So know that that's available for you as well. It could be certainly a helpful tool. We know that a lot of patrons will download information, but there's certainly a growing number of those that simply want to come back to a search that they created at a later date and time. So know that you can certainly do that. I'm going to go first into the U.S. business module. We'll certainly cover information here. We'll also focus on some information in the consumer lifestyles, as well as our new movers and new homeowners. You might even consider looking at the U.S. new businesses. So these all have different update schedules. The U.S. businesses, that information is being updated weekly. So as we get any new verified information about businesses somewhere here in the U.S., we push that information live on Thursday into Friday. The historical information doesn't really get updated until the beginning of the following year. Canadian business information is monthly. Our jobs and internships is nightly. U.S. new business filings, so these are through the Secretary of State's office. Those are updated weekly. And then our U.S. healthcare, our standard white pages, our consumer lifestyles, and Canadian white pages are all being pushed live, updated monthly. And then our U.S. new movers and new homeowners, we're obtaining this information through our relationship with the USPS. We're fully licensed to bump our database up against the national change of address. So that's how we learn about people that have perhaps moved to a new home, or to a maybe they have moved to an apartment. That information is coming through that information and is being updated weekly. So know that that's a schedule for each of those. The beautiful thing about any of these modules, once you launch one of them, as I've done with the U.S. Business Database, you'll always come to the Quick Search tab first. As it relates to businesses and looking at nonprofits, I know that some nonprofits really focus heavily on certain types of businesses. So if you had, let's say, a really good supporter of your projects that you wanted to look up their company record, and the reason you would do that is all the companies are classified by type, so you could see the specific primary line of business that they are under, and then you could use that information to try and find more like them in your community. So that's one great use of company name. You could certainly, maybe there was an executive that had been at a particular company that you used to perhaps do some work with, and they've moved on, but you're not certain where. You could certainly try and find that executive by doing that last name, first name search. It would be awfully helpful if you had the city or at least the state for that information. And of course, you could even do a reverse phone number lookup. Most of the time, people are in the advanced search universe, but I do want to show you one tool, and I'll do it from this quick search page. I'm just going to put in Tulsa and select that, and then of course your state, and you simply scroll down, grab Oklahoma. Now what this is going to do is it's going to produce a list of all types of businesses. The reason I like to show this, especially in this example, is I can use this chart feature to drive or to produce for me the specific businesses by type. So when I select that, it's going to take all these 30,000 plus results that I have, and these are all verified records. We do have records that are unverified, and I'll explain that in a moment. So this is going to look at all those verified businesses across your community and give a breakdown by the top types of businesses across the community. And we use this coding system called Standard Industrial Classification Code, or SIC code. There is also the NAICS code. You may have heard of the NAICS code. It's a more recent code that Uncle Sam is technically using nowadays. They've put this one out to pasture, but as a company, we've kept this alive because it is so granular. But the NAICS code, that's the North American Industrial Classification System code. And that coding system was put together, or created, I should say, simply because of our relationship with the US, Mexico, and Canada. So when Bill Clinton was first elected president, he signed that very first North American trade agreement. They needed a coding system, and the SIC codes weren't going to do it. They needed a coding system that all three countries would agree upon, so that when something was being sent from one country to the next, everybody was aware of what it was that was being sent out. So that's when the NAICS codes were born. So we use those both as classification tools, but you can also simply use the description. So in this case, under this code, there are 3,279 physicians and surgeons. The reason, obviously, you all have a number of hospital systems, not to mention a few other organizations in the area. So think of all the clinics, certainly hospitals, and the various types of clinics. Gosh, there are so many. So there are a lot of physicians and surgeons because they're all 1099 guys and gals. They are their own business in essence. So that's why they are often at the top of the list. In this case, attorneys are second, followed by restaurants, nurse practitioners, insurance, churches, and dentists. So if you wanted, you can simply see a full report by scrolling down here. So if you work with a lot of real estate companies, for example, that may be supporters of your organization, you could get to the whole kit and caboodle if you wanted to by simply clicking on this record count, and then it will go to that group of 352 records, and then you can begin perhaps reviewing or looking at these records as it relates to trying to find some additional advocates for your organization. So a great way to get right to that type of, or those types of businesses. I can always get back, but I will cheat and go back this way so I can get back to my summary. So here's that list. You can actually print this off, or you can make it part of a PowerPoint presentation, by the way. And you do have the ability, any of these codes or definitions for the codes can in fact be omitted from searches. Now I just did a general search, but if you wanted to omit some types of industries, you could do that and just not have them end up being produced in your search. I'll show you how to do that as well. The other thing that you can do with this, and this might be valuable, I know that a lot of nonprofits also look at companies from, so how is that company doing itself? I can change this up to sales volume. And now I have a breakdown. So this total of 24,672, that's what's made up from all of these listings. I've got, again, a complete report listed there. But I have that listing, and if I wanted to, maybe I really have great success with businesses who are producing sales volumes in this range. Again, I could look at this audience because I've got this 4,136 records if I'd like to. And of course, it's right down here as well. So I could hyperlink to that and just get to that universe of businesses. Certainly a large number. I could do some other filtering so I could perhaps make this a smaller number. But I'll show you how to do all of that here in a moment. But just know that I got to all of this data by simply putting in the name of your city in the state. And I got to it right here with all these 30,196 records. So I'm going to revise my search. Most of the time, people are spending they're spending their time in this advanced search universe. And by the way, additional filters goes to the same place. So I'm just going to go right over to advanced. And here's where I can start looking at those various types of businesses and getting them listed. But I do want to show you a few things before we run some of those examples. For example, when we were on quick search looking at company name, you could only put in one company at a time when you're using quick search. Here, you could put in multiple companies by name. So if you wanted, you could certainly select IBM if that was one of them that you wanted to look at. You could include that. You can include maybe Starbucks. Oh, there I'm thinking Starbucks again. You can add that. So you can add as many of these unrelated in terms of the type of business they're in, but you can create as many of those unique lists that you need to based on company name, and then you just select whatever geography is important to you. And I'll show you that here in a second. So know that you could do that with company name. Otherwise, we'll always tell you about the company name. We'll also always give you this executive information. But knowing the types of companies that you've called on and the successes that you want to build upon, you probably have a pretty clear understanding of the types of management titles that you've been successful with. So if in fact it's a chief executive officer, what you could do is select that, and then we'll only show you records with a chief executive officer present. Or if it would be some other designation, as you can see, there are many of them. So if maybe it's an executive director, maybe it's an owner. Maybe it's all three. What you could do is you could certainly leave all three of these in there as filters, and then select your geography and any other filters that you need. And then you can produce just results with an owner at the minimum present, or a chief executive officer, or a director, executive director. So know that you can use that as a filter as well. Otherwise, we'll always give you what we have that we know about in terms of this executive information. There are certainly some businesses that haven't given us that information. Now you're going to see less of that with larger companies. I do have the ability to do a keyword search, or I could use the NAICS codes or the SIC code that business, that really good type of business that I work with currently falls under. I could use that code and look up that information. The major industry group is in fact just the SIC codes, always beginning with their 2-digit number. And then as you can see under construction here, for example, it then breaks down each of those 2-digit codes so you know specifically what's under each code. And then you can just keep on drilling down until you get to the type of information you need. Maybe maybe it needs to be even more granular. You could certainly do that and get down to this level. So it just depends on the type of businesses that you would ultimately want to see in your output. So let's do this. Geography pretty much speaks for itself. I will show you this map-based search tool. That might be something that's of value, and most of the tools that I'll show you today are in fact available in all those other modules. There are a couple of them that don't have everything, but otherwise you're gonna, if you see this map-based search under any geography heading, you know it's available to you. If you don't see it, it doesn't mean that it's broken. It's just not available in that particular module. Phone kind of speaks for itself. Now, size, that might be relevant to you. Maybe is it in terms of number of employees or sales volumes, or you could use both as filters so that you could end up driving in just those kinds of results. You can look for publicly traded companies versus privately traded. Just depends on what you want to do. I shouldn't say privately traded, should I? Just private companies. So you can also look at the headquarters all the way through branch. So what that gives you is headquarters, subsidiary, branch, or a single location. So you could certainly use those as filters. Otherwise, we'll produce what we have for you in that geography that you used. So know that that information is certainly all available to you. If you were doing a general search in a specific area and perhaps did not want to include home-based businesses, you could choose to exclude them from your output. Just know that you can alter a lot of information that you're going to ultimately potentially see with your selections here. We'll always give you this financial data as well. Special selects. If you want to see newer businesses in the community, you could use this years in the database option. And then you could say, just show me businesses that have opened in Tulsa in the last 2 years, and you'll get those kinds of businesses. Maybe you want to use a keyword and say, only show me these types of businesses that have opened in the last 2 years. You get to be as creative as you'd like. So know that that is all available. As it relates to professionals, all or one, when we list professionals, we're talking about attorneys, doctors, CPAs. So if you're doing, again, a search in a rather general area, and you would like records for attorneys or doctors or dentists that might be in that area, but you maybe don't want to see every single doctor's record in that office or every attorney's record in that office. If you would like just the primary for that office, select professionals and then change it from all to one, and that way you will ultimately reduce the number of records that you're going to view. So know that you can certainly do that. And then I mentioned earlier, you can omit anything in essence from your search. So if, for example, we have ATMs in our database for records. So if you wanted to exclude, because you were going to do a general search in an area and you wanted to exclude ATMs because you didn't want them showing up in your results, you could search out the automated teller machines, which is listed right here, click on it. Now you've selected that, and when you do your search in that area, you will not see automated teller machines ever show up. And that would be true for kiosks as well. I'm pretty certain that you all have Redbox, the Redbox videos. Those are also included in there. So if you wanted to exclude those, you could certainly do that. So you can exclude anything. Let's do this. Let's just do a simple keyword search. And I'm only looking at the verifieds. I mentioned the unverifieds. So these are records. This is our total verified records, 15.5 million. With the unverifieds, those are businesses that could have been verified at one time. And then when we went to do our annual phone call with them, we couldn't reach them. We'll try to reach them for a dozen attempts throughout the course of 2 years. And if we can't reach them and get them verified again, then we strike them from the verified status and put them in that unverified. You may want to include or look at unverifieds as well. Just because we haven't been able to get them doesn't mean that there's still certainly not some good leads that could be potentially listed in there. So, but it always defaults to that unverified, and it always defaults to search all SIC codes. If you wanted to switch it up to NAICS codes, you can certainly do that. We do have it says 2 to 6, but we do have the 8-digit NAICS codes now that we've created so that you can get that much more granular. I still kind of lean towards the SIC codes. Maybe it's just old school talking, but I know that it's pretty darn granular when I'm using those SIC codes. So I'm searching all SIC codes, and then it's just a matter of what type of business. And you can see I've got some here already listed. Restaurants or hotels or coffee shops. You know, when the SIC codes were around, there was no such thing as marijuana dispensaries, at least not listed in the yellow pages, right? So we had to create an SIC code to fit marijuana dispensaries. There is, because the NAICS codes were born with the ability to add to them, that suited marijuana dispensaries just fine because they could be added to the NAICS codes very easily. So it's interesting when you have a chance to kind of sit back and look at this, how detailed it can get. But let's say that the type of businesses that you tend to reach out to as part of your nonprofit efforts are in fact insurance companies. So you can just say insurance, and then you can get the listing for all insurance, and it'll give you certainly that SIC code and then the definition for all insurance. And as you can see, it does start to break it down when you scroll through that list. So it might depend on types of insurance, right? And then if you notice, as you scroll down even further, it will start to break out the various types of insurance. So know that you can get pretty darn granular with that kind of information. But I'll just select all here under the 64 11 12. I'm going to select all of that, and then I'm going to select my area. So let's do your county. So of course, first I have to select the state, and then, oh, it didn't like my spelling. That's why. There's Tulsa. And then I can update my count so I can get a sense of how many records I might ultimately be looking at here. So there's 946. You know what? Maybe I want to filter this a little more. Maybe I want to look at sales numbers. So I could certainly grab some sales ranges. Maybe I want to grab a couple of these. What is that going to do to my total? So now it drops it down to 83, certainly a much more manageable number. So I can view my results at that point in time. Heck, I could even, now we're looking across the county, but we're only looking at one specific type of business industry. So when I select charts in this example, it's going to break it down by city, all the different cities around the county, and then it gives you two other options because it already knows what we're looking for in terms of sales volumes, right? So it gives you the city, or excuse me, the zip code, or you can break it down by number of employees. So it just depends on how you want to look at that. You know, maybe you're going to focus on these that are a little larger. And then, of course, here's some examples of some of those insurance companies and those ranges. So know that you've got that available to you as well to help, you know, decide and filter. So that is available. Plus, when I go in and select the heat map, what it will do is it will place all of those locations, in this case, around the county. And because I have less than 300, it's going to give me the pinpoints and the name of those companies here. If I wanted to know where this Bankers Life and Casualty was at, I can click on it, and then it will show me in the map where that's at. In fact, there's a couple of them it notes here under that. There's Bankers Life, and then there's another one there, Modern Woodmen of America. So you've got a couple of listings there. So you can always look at the map that way just to get a sense of coverage or density. And then it will also break them out. Of course, we didn't get to a total of 50 here, but it did break them out by zip code and how many of them are in each of these zip codes. So again, if you were interested in just this group of 11, you could get to that universe. Pretty cool stuff. I mean, there's a variety of ways that you can look at this. We're just looking at one certain type of industry. You could be looking at several. It doesn't matter. You get to say how this thing should ultimately look. And of course, when you're doing your searches, you can search for virtually any type of business. As you notice, there was the marijuana dispensaries. So we try to capture all types of businesses. But if you wanted nonprofits, you could certainly do that and select and just look at those nonprofit organizations in your community. Or maybe you have kind of come to an impasse and want to perhaps broaden your knowledge base. You could, we're looking just here in Tulsa, but this database is for anywhere in the United States. Maybe you want to look at another community and some of the nonprofits that they have there, and you're going to do a little networking and call. You could be changing this county up. Let's say that you didn't want Tulsa, but you know what? Omaha is a similar sized community in terms of number of businesses, so you could always certainly contact those nonprofits in Omaha and maybe get just develop a relationship with that contact that you make, and maybe learn some new ways to frame your approach as it relates to marketing your nonprofit. Just another way of in fact networking. So I could always go and look at another city, and if you're going to look at another city, just put in that city's name and then hit go, and then you just select the appropriate Omaha. We'll go to Nebraska, and then I'll get rid of this. So let me drive in these nonprofits. So in my community, I've got 306 different nonprofits. So it might be a situation where you want to do some door knocking, some virtual door knocking with some other nonprofits to brainstorm about different ideas that you might be able to come up with together to move the needle in a forward direction. So know that you can search any type of business or industry. Any questions to this point? I do want to show you what you can do as far as downloading goes. So I'm going to revise this, and I'm going to kick out Omaha. Not that you're not all welcome. Come on up to Omaha anytime you'd like. We have a little bit great zoo here. So how many nonprofits do I have across Tulsa? I have 186 listed across Tulsa. So I've got that listing. So again, if you wanted to download this information, and all you have to do is scroll down to the bottom, and it tells you how many downloads you can do at a time. It says per search, but it's really at a time. So in this case, I've got this 186. I can simply select this box right next to company name, and I can click on that, and I can advance, and I've got 250 records. There are 25 records per page, so that would be 10 pages. So I can do this entire download in one event. And then it's just a matter of advancing to the next page, grabbing those records, advancing to the next page. You get the idea. I'll stop there at page 6 because I want to show you something else. Then it's a matter of selecting download here. Notice you can also print that stuff if you'd prefer. Comma delimited is in fact the most popular and most user-friendly when it comes to making mailing labels. So if you were producing these results because you intended on doing a mailer on behalf of your organization, you could certainly select that comma delimited. If you select summary, it's going to give you the name of that business, that address information, phone. It'll give you additional elements. Who's that owner or manager? How many employees? What's their sales volume? What line of business are they in? We have a unique numbering system for each and every record, so that would be included in there. I believe I mentioned the type of business. So this is exactly what this is going to look like. And I would point out that if, and in this case, we know, I better drag this over there or you won't be able to see my results. What's going on here? Don't ever show me that again. What is it doing here? Let's see if I can get this to cooperate. There it goes. You should see my Excel spreadsheet. So all of my pages, this is what's coming through Reference USA. These are all static pages, meaning I can't add to this page. I can't go down here and add more cells to it, right? I can't continue on down. I can only save what I've got here, or if you open up your own version of Excel and then just come up to get out of there. And then come right up here to the upper left-hand corner between cell 1 and A and click, see how it shades it all. And then you can simply copy this, drop it on your own version of Excel. Then you would minimize yours, close mine in this upper right-hand corner, close mine, don't save it. And then you're going to be brought right back here. Then you can select the word back, and it will leave you on the page you last left off on. So we know technically I did pages 1 through 6. So at that point in time, you have to get rid of these check marks if you want to go on to page 7 and 8 in order to get more of those records. Easiest way to get rid of those check marks, revise search. It doesn't forget how you built it. View your results, and bingo, we're left on page 1. All those check marks are gone. You just go into this number box with your cursor and type in 7 in this example and hit enter, and you're ready to go with the next group. And you can do that through page 7 and 8 and then go to that download again at that point. So notice you can get that specific. Let me also show you this. I'm going to revise my search. Now, notice we're looking at all SIC codes. So if I change it up to primary only, watch what happens to my number. So this is probably a truer number of those, and I didn't do this in Omaha, by the way. So this is probably a truer number of those nonprofits, because I did notice the YMCA's in there, and technically it is a nonprofit, and I know they do seek some assistance, but I'm thinking of some of those truer nonprofits. So I can get to virtually any type of information in here using any of these filters that I have available. In fact, let's do this. I'm going to expand. That is only going to get me 108. Well, I'll stay relatively in a tight area. So I'm going to open up my map-based search tool. This is another great tool that might be useful for you for a few reasons here. So with this tool, it always presents you with this nation view first, and then you simply come up to the left-hand corner here and select the zoom to. So do you want to put in an actual physical address plus the city and state? Or do you want to put in just city and state? Do you want to do a zip code? What would you like to do? So we'll just do Tulsa. And I better put in okay, or I'm not going anywhere. And go. And so here I am in Tulsa. Now it says here, select your area. I have several options, several tools available to me in this area. I can draw my own shape. So if I wanted to stay right inside, as you can see, I'm clicking and changing direction, clicking and changing direction. If I wanted to stay right inside the loop here, I could certainly do so. Double click to finish it, and then it will calculate how many results there are for me in there. So there are 28 results that match my criteria that are in there. If that's all I need, as you could see, I'm ready to give it to you. You just say done, and then view your results, and you'd have those 28. You can also, and I'll just delete this guy. I kind of changed that view. Come back here, Tulsa. You're not going anywhere. Come back here. You can also use a true radius search. So think about, maybe you've actually put in a business address here, or a home address, or some other relevant address, and this point is in fact that address where you wanted to start. You can use a true radius if you would like. And this radius will, depending on how much view you have with your map, as you can see, I can go out quite a ways. Depending on how much view you have, you can go a total of 150 miles out. I think in most cases, people aren't necessarily going out quite that far, but it's simply wherever you want to start at. I'll pretend it's here, and then you simply click it, hold it, and drag it away. And then it tells you how far out you've gone. Right now I'm at just a little over 2 miles. If that's all I needed, I could let go, and then I've got 57 results within that 2-mile radius that I could then get to. So know that you have that available to you. You also have, and I better get a little closer for this one, you also have some predetermined boundaries. So as you can see, it's as large as the state, but it could be as close as a neighborhood. This is what it would look like when I select the zip codes. So it will start to populate the zip codes in the area, and then any zip code that I happen to click in, it will then calculate how many are there in that particular zip code, and I can click in as many of these zip codes as I want in order to get to the kind of data that I need. So if those were the zip codes I wanted, I've got those 4 listings there with 30, 41, 46 records total. So as you can see, my system is ready to give you those 46. You just simply say done, and then view your results, and you're ready to go. So And by the way, these tools that I'm showing you, most of these tools are in fact available in a number of the database modules. So I'm going to delete these guys and return to my tools, meaning those area boundaries. And I also have a drive route. So let's do this. Where was OKC from here? Is that a long ways away? Ooh, yikes. I didn't think we were that far. It didn't seem that far when I was driving all over your state last year. Maybe it was. Oh, goodness. Well, we'll do a drive route here. I'll do it to, I know where I'll go. So we'll just do Tulsa. Okay. I think I did this one before. Stillwater. Okay. And then you can create your buffered distance. So imagine if maybe you were looking at certain different types of industries, and these were going to be businesses that you were going to be perhaps driving to call on them about a program. You can create your own buffered distance, and notice it goes out a maximum of 15 miles. So that'd be 15 miles south of the roadway that it takes you on and 15 miles north of the roadway that it takes you on. I'll just make it much smaller. I'll do 1 for 1 mile. And I'll hit enter, and then I'll create my buffered route. And oh, that's right, Stillwater was straight across from you all. So along this route, there are 6, and that's not Route 66, by the way, that's 51, it looks like. I have 66 results along this route. So if I want, I can say done here, Bill, thank you, and then view my results. And there's my results, but then I can also put it back on the heat map. So when you're using the heat map in this fashion, you always have to drill in. So I always kind of center my screen, and then I begin using the plus symbol to start drilling in. And you may have to center it a couple of times. But you can see it's already beginning to break them apart and place them in Tulsa and Stillwater. Or along the way, there's Sandy Springs, it looks like might have some in there. So you can see how that looks. I'm going to try and center this just so. Oh, it's just a little too wide. I'll have to back up just a smidge. So I've got my, oh, I got a little too far back. And there's that column on the left-hand side with those various locations. And of course, I can go back over here towards Stillwater to get those other ones listed there as well. So depends on what you would like to do with that information, but you can always get to that. And that map-based search tool might be a great tool for you to use. Questions on the business information, because I do have a few other modules I'd like to show you here.
No questions.
Okay, Martha, I was just about to say Martha has nothing for me. So I'm going to go right on to the Reference USA homepage, come right back here. I do want to show you our consumer lifestyles. So if you're in fact looking for donors, you could use the consumer lifestyles information. And I'm going to go right to the advanced search. And remember, additional filters goes there. So when I go to advanced search, I'm able to, and we're getting this information from surveys that people have completed, warranty card registrations, membership subscriptions that people have, magazine sales, credit card processing. So a variety of different sources. The information is then categorized under lifestyles. So these are all of the different categories that we kind of follow on at the residential address level. And notice one of them here is charitable donors. So if in fact you would like to find, and we do have, as it notes here, a scoring system of 0 through 9, and we will show you records, though, of people who score a 6 to a 9. So they're active in their respective categories. In fact, I used to cover 10 different states. So as if Oklahoma wasn't big enough, I had other states that I covered, and one of them was Georgia. One of my libraries is Athens, Clark County, Georgia, which is the Athens University of Georgia area. Well, they have 2 other surrounding counties that are part of their 3-county area that participate. And one of them is Oglethorpe. It's a very rural county, very poor. That library was in need of new library signage. And they used this very tool, and they went in and they identified charitable donors. Notice we have charitable donors and then those donors who give to wildlife and the environment. So they selected just charitable donors in their county, and they needed to raise $5,000 for their initiative for this new library signage. They ended up raising 8, in part by utilizing those charitable donors. And they even went as far as they bumped the list that they got from their county up against the Friends of the Libraries list. And they found a lot of people that donated weren't necessarily on the Friends of the Libraries list. They were just supporting their community. So you could come in here, select charitable donor, and then it's a matter of, do you want to cover the city? Do you want to cover the county? Do you want to cover the city and maybe 2 other counties, or the county and maybe 2 other neighboring cities that could be in a different county? So you get to decide how this is going to work. I'll do in fact, we'll come down here to Oklahoma and we'll grab Tulsa. There it is. And I'm looking, and I'm going to change this up from searching all per household to 1 per household. So I want to see 1 record for each resident, each address. So I have a total of 37,578 charitable donors across Tulsa. Now, you could include estimated home income or home value as filters. If you wanted to, you could say, you know what, I really don't want to reach out to anybody that's making less than 60,000. And you can see the ranges go quite high here. So if you wanted to use these as filters, you could certainly do that. What does that do to my number? So it drops it down to 15,000. So you can see how you can really identify that specific audience that you believe would be best suited for your initiatives. I spoke to a lady, I kid you not, she worked with the AKC, and she was interested in AKC dog lovers. So she wanted to combine charitable donors with dog lovers because she figured that they'd have more of a propensity to be involved with their organization. So she selected both of those. And what I would suggest is at that point in time, throw this out, throw that dollar amount out, and you can switch this up. And you can say, instead of searching any that match, say only those that do match. So match meaning they have to be dog lovers and they have to be charitable donors. What does that do to my total now? So now I have 10,000 records of people who were both dog lovers and charitable donors. And this is what their records look like. And notice right off the bat, you see this red lettering. It does indicate that these phone numbers that could be listed here, some have them, some don't, might be on the do not call list and should not be used for phone solicitation, that you're ultimately responsible for all the compliance. Now that said, know that you can go directly to the do not call registry and they will do a certain number of area codes for free. And after that, they start charging. I have no idea what they charge. Know that we also do this type of work. So we can take any list. Maybe you have a list from some other source. If you wanted us to verify the numbers that you had on that list were okay to call, we could certainly do that for you. That's obviously a for pay service. So no, these are what the records are going to be set up just like. So we've got that address information. Now in this case, we've not seen enough information one way or the other to identify this person as perhaps married. So that's why it says unknown. Been in this house for about 20 years. Here's some of that estimated income and home value. And then there are those lifestyle indicators. The only thing we asked for was charitable donors and dog lovers. Remember, I mentioned at the outset that we have that scoring system. So know that that is what's taken into account when it produces these records. Likewise, if we were to do another search, maybe for charitable donors and those folks that are into cruises, you could in fact do another search and this person might not show up because even though they have some interest in cruises, they may not score high enough using that scoring system. So just because you see them in this search doesn't mean that you're going to see them in the next search that might be a category that they have some interest in, but maybe not enough. So that is how every one of these records work. I do want to caution you because I do get these phone calls as well. If you select anything from consumer snapshots, so that's this section here, and I'll just go back to the show me all. What is that total? 41,000, yeah. So notice if I say, show me marital status, let's do ethnicity, gender, and we can stop it there. We don't need to go any further. Those are three good ones. So let's say single, let's say Hispanic, and let's say female. What does that do to my total? So it drops it down to 202. So that is then filtered and given you that information for those folks based on that consumer snapshot information. So you can get very granular, very specific regarding that information in the area. So know that if you would like to use any of those filters, you could certainly do that. So those 202 are also dog lovers and charitable donors. So as far as I consider, great people. Any questions in regards to charitable donors? Notice I have that map-based search tool. I could put these records all on the heat map if I wanted to. Let's actually add a few records to that. I'll say, let's take out gender. Still not enough. Let's take out this. Ooh, that's a lot. And then the heat map will show you the density of that coverage.
Bill,
Yes.
We're just about at 5 o'clock here.
Oh, but we started late, didn't we?
I wish we could go on and on and
Oh, I
on.
know it. Well, know that you can certainly use many of these tools available to you in all of the modules. And if you're looking for, I wanted to show you this, if you're looking for newer people to your community, you can certainly do that in the new movers, new homeowners. So that might be something, even though we wouldn't have information about their lifestyle indices, we do in fact give you the ability to perhaps get in front of those people who are brand new to your community. Could be some great opportunities there. And Martha,
Yes,
I think with that, we'll say we're good, because we do have to get to a question
yeah.
next. And then for anyone who would like to participate, there's a question that I better stop sharing though. I'm still talking and not stopping the sharing. So there is a question here that we're going to present to you, and you would be able to then respond to that question. There it is, and it simply indicates how many wildlife and environment donors are there in Tulsa County, Oklahoma. You can email me at my email address there, bill.carlson@infogroup.com. And the first person who sends me the correct response in email is going to be sent a $20 gift card to Starbucks. So happy coffee on me.
Thanks, Bill. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. If you want any help using our resources, we welcome you to schedule a one-on-one virtual appointment with our research center staff, and we can take you through the loops, anything that we've missed or that you need more information on that Bill has covered. We're glad to do that. And just go to tulsalibrary.org and go to our Ask Us, and you can call us at a phone number 918-549-7323. But just go to our website and you can find out how to contact our Ask Us department and to set up an appointment for that. In closing, a big thanks to Bill Carlson for sharing
Thank you.
his vast knowledge on this wonderful resource. Our next webinar is on September the 9th, and we'll be looking at Reference USA for finding customers by their lifestyles. So you may feel like you've gotten everything you need out of this, but I can tell you there's a whole lot more digging deep into finding customers by their lifestyles. So we welcome you to that event. Okay, thanks, Bill.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to join us. If you have friends or family that you believe could benefit from any of the information that I showed you today, or we do have information for job seekers, etc., be sure and let them know to get to the library and get a library card, or they can do that online.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for coming. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.